everybody, welcome back to another live stream shot. That one ended. I had some issues with my graphics card and forced it to end. But we still got some severe thunderstorm warnings. These storms that were up there near Jefferson City are now making its way in towards southwestern Illinois, making its way into southern Kentucky. Not southern, but western Kentucky. Still one with tornado possible attack, 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Strong storms. And that's not the velocity I wanted. Looking in here, not seeing a tornado possible, but I do see the straight line damaging winds that would be coming through my area here very shortly, next couple hours or so. So we'll see how it goes. Oops, I forgot I had that closed. My bad. Give me 1 second here. I forgot I had that closed. Do 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 no no dun 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 bum 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 bum. Alright, should be up now. There we go. We still got a slight risk for severe weather and marginal risk extending as far west as Butler County, Kentucky. You got 50% chance of damaging winds, 15% damaging hail, and then you got a 2% tornado risk. Same as it was a while ago, and I believe this one's still the same from a while ago, and yes, it is still the same from a while ago. Hopefully this time my mic ain't muted. I keep looking over my left screen, hoping my mic ain't randomly muted again. Sorry, so we're going to switch on back over the radar here. Let's see what we got. I think we got a classic quasi-linear convective system moving through. I'm pretty sure from this point on it'll be more of a damaging wind threat and rainfall threat. I do not believe that we'll have a tornado threat. That reminds me, I need to put my radio back on.
I'm on 97 on that Dexter Patrol on Union Line. Say what?
It's gonna be slow for the rest of the night, guys. Slow for the rest of the night. So while y'all here, y'all can talk, stuff like that. Here to chat, watching the weather. Like I said, it's gonna be mainly a damaging wind threat from this point on, especially as it gets down to western Kentucky. It's gonna weaken exponentially as our atmosphere over here in Kentucky is not favorable for severe weather development. So we're going to switch it over to the 7-day forecast here, provided by WBKO First Alert Weather. On Thursday, 80% chance. On Thursday, you have 80% chance of rain and thunderstorms. Get that yellow poly triangle there for possible severe weather. And Friday, you got 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms. Saturday, 30% chance of showers and thunderstorms. Sunday, 40% showers and thunderstorms. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, 30% chance of showers and thunderstorms. Highs ratio between low 80s to low 90s. Mid to highest is going to be on Sunday at 90, low is 72. Lows in mostly in the lower 50s, upper 60s, and the high temperatures ranging from 82 to 90. According to WBKO 7-day forecast. I know y'all can't see it. Let's go ahead and move this down. Let's go ahead and move this around for you guys here. Make it a little smaller for you. I'll eventually get it. Almost there. There we go. There we go, guys. There we go. Now we got here. Now you can see the full 7-day forecast here. Let's go ahead and switch on back to the radar and see what that alert was about. Updated severe thunderstorm warning, 60-mile-an-hour wind gust. South of Fredericktown. It's gonna be just mostly storms here. We got downward push to the south, and we also got a easterly push as well. So I do believe it may split right around in here. And if it splits, it's going to weaken tremendously, as there's not much instability and convection in the air, especially when you get towards western Kentucky. Don't see the storms living for much longer. But we do got the chances of some damaging winds as it moves through the area. If you live in Kentucky, western Kentucky, south central Kentucky, mainly west of 165, and if you're west of the I-65 and 165 corridor. So let me move my radar over here a little bit. Let me stop that play. So here's 165, and here's I-65. And right around in here is where right here's the corridor. So basically, if you're west of this line right here, is where I see the biggest threats. And I'm gonna mark it out in green. This area in Kentucky is where I'll be looking for the marginal threat. This is right around where the marginal risk of severe weather is for Kentucky, in this green circle. So basically, if you're west of I-65, then you may be at risk for some gusty winds and some small hail, but I do not see any really big concerns of like winds like 80 mile an hour or anything like that. Maybe 60 mile an hour wind gusts at the most, and maybe some marble-sized hail, or maybe even quarter-sized hail at the biggest. Especially in the Kentucky region here. So basically west of I-65, that does include Bowling Green, Morgantown, Franklin, Russellville, Hopkinsville, Benton, Mayfield, Paducah, Union City, Murray, Princeton, Madisonville, Central City, Morganfield. I'll go ahead and include Evansville and Hendersonville, and maybe Owensboro. I wouldn't really say it'd be as far north as Hendersonville or Owensboro. So let's go ahead and just I need to make that bigger. Let's go ahead and just fix this real quick. You know what I mean? I would say in this region, because I don't see this area up here really being a severe threat. It's honestly no longer severe warned either. Whoops. Did not want to do that. So let's get back on over here to the storms over here. I do see some slight spin on the reflectivity. So if I have any concerns of, I'm not saying that is not going to happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen. But if I say if this line of storms would produce one more tornado tonight, I'll say it'll be in this region right here. That's where we got the reds and the greens coming together. They're not gate to gate, but they are coming together. So that's where I would be watching for tornadoes. But it's really unlikely. You know, we gotta in the line of thunderstorms. We have to look for spots like this. These spots right there where I just circled, those two circles. Oh, and of course we get a radar update. So those two circles, especially the southern one now, I am looking at right here. These little couplets that pop up in a line of thunderstorms is where we're going to have to look at along the leading edge of storms. And on reflectivity, we're looking for little notches like this right here. These little notches. So, like I said, if there's any, and I mean if there's any possibility left for tornadoes, I'll say one would develop right in here, or maybe just north of there. Near Grand Tower, Panamana, Alto Pass, Coben, and Anna, and this is in southwestern Illinois. So those are the two spots that's just an example of what we look for as meteorologists when we're looking into KLS, or also known as quasi-linear convective system, which is basically lines of thunderstorms. When we have a KLS, this is what we're really looking for, is little couplets like these and these along the leading edge of thunderstorms. That's what we'd be looking for any possibility of a tornado in a line of thunderstorms, also known as a KLS, or longer terms, quasi-linear convective system. So as you see in the text that's scrolling across your screen up top, slight risk for severe weather today. That was mainly focused towards central Missouri. The storms have now left central Missouri and making its way down to southeastern Missouri into western Kentucky, southwestern Illinois, as a KLS, or quasi-linear convective system, or QCS, quasi-linear convective system, QCS, KLS, however you all want to put it. Someone from TikTok commented, "What's the difference of a QCS and a squall line?" So I'll go ahead and show you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and pull it up here. QLCS. I knew I was getting it wrong. QLCS is think of as a derecho, which better yet, what I'm gonna do. course, it's not working. So let me just do this. This will be a lot better, actually. There we go. So this right here, a squall line thunderstorm. Now, I'll show you the difference between a QLCS and a squall line. So let's go ahead and go back to the radar here, as we do have a QLCS thunderstorm moving through. So as you see here, the Q, I don't know if I could say it right. It's midnight. I am a little tired, guys. Please excuse me. But the QLCS thunderstorms are typically smaller, but they are more long-tracked. They last longer, as I've noticed, long-tracked. They last a lot longer. They also sometimes, not always, but sometimes always pack more punch than a squall line. And they're all the biggest picture of it to give you guys here on a QLCS thunderstorm on reflectivity is a QLCS thunderstorms. They typically move south, southeast, or just east. And I promise you guys, the biggest key factor between the two types of lines of thunderstorms is that the QLCS thunderstorms have this little bowing. QLCS thunderstorms have a bow. So as you see, it's blowing up here. Right here is where we call it the bowing sector. And that is not found in squall lines. That's mainly found in the QLCS thunderstorms. Severe thunderstorm warning was updated tornado possible. And again, I guarantee you guys, it was for this little couple that we saw moments ago, and I do not see it as defined as it was a while ago. Let's go ahead and look back at the look back over here at the squall lines. And you see squall lines, they do curve, also known as the S curves. It's not as defined over here. If you look towards where it says Jasper, of course you got the inflow notches. And if you notice, it's more of a straight line than QLCS thunderstorms or quasi-lunar convective systems. Squall lines are typically straighter and they move straight west to east. And again, on quasi-linear convective systems, they typically move from northwest to southeast. Squall lines typically move west to east. And squall lines are typically they're still strong, but the winds inside of a squall line is not as strong as the outflow winds of a quasi-lunar convective system. Because if y'all recall what I just told you guys about the Bowen sector, that strong winds behind the front the main oh my gosh, that's the winds behind the main line of storms, and it's pushing it forward. And these strong winds are so strong, it's giving the storms bowing sectors. So the storm starts bowing. So basically, to put it in more simple terms, quasi-linear convective systems, the biggest key factor to identify a quasi-linear convective system over a squall line is on a quasi-linear convective system, you have the bowing sector where storm bows. Again, that's strong outflow winds or strong winds behind the thunderstorm and pushing it and driving it forward. Squall lines are a more straight line. They move from west to east. Quasi-lunar convective systems move from northwest to southeast, typically. Now, there's been some instances where I've seen a quasi-lunar convective system move from southwest to northeast, but that's very, very rare. I've only seen that once on radar. Since I've been studying meteorology, which I started that when I was a young kid. So that's just basic meteorology 101, how to identify a quasi-linear convective system over a squall line. That was a great comment on TikTok. I was more than happy to give you guys that description. But when it's quasi-linear convective system, I'm seeing a little bit of a. When you see this, little hooks form at the top of the storms. Now that doesn't necessarily mean rotation. That doesn't necessarily mean there's a tornado. That's me personally. I can't explain that myself, but I've seen that so many times on radar. But these hooks right here are typically not associated with rotation or tornadoes. Have seen instances where it was associated with tornadoes, but most cases they're not really associated with tornadoes. There's just rotating rain bands, and this is, if I'm not mistaken, it's caused by the V-notch, which you typically see people talk about or meteorologists talk about the V-notch and supercells and the V-notch inflow, stuff like that on supercells. But this is the way I put it. This is what helps me understand. If you look at here, where we have the Bowen sector, we have a little V, and I'll call it the V-notch, or a secondary V-notch, as the primary V-notch is, primarily associated with supercell thunderstorms. And I believe the little hooking sector, or hooking section, on the typically on the northeastern side of a quasi-linear convective system, I believe that's caused by the strong inflow or outflow winds, weird inflow winds coming from the behind the thunderstorms, and that's driving it forward. We're at the Bowen sector. I call it the V-notch. I believe the little hooking sector up here is caused by the Bowen winds. So just a little bit of meteorology 101. I know probably half of you guys don't even understand half the words I just said, but I tried to explain it as fully and as best as I could. So, current time is 12:17 a.m. Central Standard Time. Live on TikTok as well, and live on YouTube. If y'all want to check out my YouTube, it's at Roars, and you want to check out my TikTok, it's Roars Official. We have 80 people watching from TikTok, and I can't see my viewers on YouTube quite yet, because OBS is being a pain in the butt today, as shown from earlier. Somebody on TikTok asking if I could scroll back up here. My phone starts being stupid. There it is. Oh, nope. Stop it. Somebody on TikTok asking, how do I know so much about weather at such a young age? It's a complex thing. It's a complex thing to understand. Meteorology is more one of the science in itself is complex, but understanding and predicting and trying to predict the weather, it's a whole nother thing than making pigs fly or making flying cars, or making volcanoes out of baking soda. So meteorology is one of the more complex things to understand. Even the most well-known meteorologists, the smartest meteorologists out there, we don't have a full understanding on how the weather works. We have a basic understanding, but we can't understand it fully. I mean, every time there's a severe weather event, snowstorm, there's always something that surprises the meteorologists and people that works at the National Weather Service, the men and women that works for Storm Prediction Center and studies the weather, launches the weather balloons. There's always something out there that surprises us, and weather is going to be another thing that's going to be studied for years, hundreds of years to come. And honestly, me personally, I do not think we'll have a full understanding of how the weather works. So, from the information that we know, is we know weather patterns. And I will admit, we do have a larger lead time and warning time to when it comes to severe weather events. And it's one of them it's really complex to really comprehend and understand. I know somebody asked me at school one day. Somebody was asking me how did the people at Storm Prediction Center know if there's going to be a threat for severe weather. I'm like, they don't typically know there's going to be severe weather. They would put a risk there for severe weather because there's a similar setups in the atmosphere that led to past severe weather outbreaks. We have weather data from past severe weather events that we can mash the 2 and 2 together. Be like, oh, we have this much instability or a CAPE, convective available potential energy in the atmosphere, and this much bulk wind shear, this much updraft, and we had this large tornado outbreak. They put the 2 and 2 together, and then put the weather model side by side to current day to past events. And if they see similar setups to past events, they'd be like, okay, the atmosphere is similar to how it was when this event happened. Maybe we should put a slight risk, marginal risk, enhanced risk, high risk, moderate risk for severe weather in this area due to the atmospheric conditions. So that's how the Storm Prediction Center really predicts how these storm events happen. They don't know how it's going to happen. They don't know how it's going to unfold. As we've seen time and time again, there's been times where Storm Prediction Center issues moderate risk, high risk, and slight risks, and it doesn't live up to the potential. I've seen where there's been a marginal risk and a tornado outbreak. I've seen from past events there's been moderate risk for severe weather and 15% chance of tornadoes. That's pretty high for a tornado risk. And me thinking, last time there was a moderate risk, the Western Kentucky tornado happened. The December 2021 tornado event happened. I'm like, okay, I wonder if it's going to be just as bad. And there was, I think there's only 5 tornadoes reported, and only 2 confirmed. It's a prediction. That's why it's called a Storm Prediction Center. It's more of a prediction than it is a a guarantee. If you're under a risk of severe weather for day 1 to day 8, if you're under a severe weather risk at all, you're not. It's not a guarantee that severe weather is happening. There's just confidence that there might be. It's a might. It's a risk. It's not a guarantee. So when I see people lash at the Storm Prediction Center, like, oh, y'all put a moderate risk for severe weather, but nothing happened but just rain. It's a prediction that use weather models and atmospheric conditions, atmospheric pressure, instability, dew points, updraft, velocity, bulk wind shear, jet stream winds. They use these computer models to make their prediction, and they look at past events of how the atmospheric conditions were during this event. If they see something similar, or if they see it's range between this percent or this percent of this. Tornadoes can happen with only 1,000 joules per kilogram or more in CAPE or instability in atmosphere. It's meteorology is going to be, and the weather is going to be one of the things that will be studied for years to come. We do have a lot more knowledge about it nowadays than we did in the past. And it's just one of them things that's going to be studied for years and years to come. And back to the original point, or the original question of how do I know so much about weather at such a young age. I've been interested in thunderstorms, snow, tornadoes back when I was like 5 years old. You know, more than 10 years ago, like 13 years ago. You know, I remember the very first tornado I've ever seen. I remember the very first tornado I've been through. I remember the very first snowstorm. You know, I can remember. Now, you know, you don't really remember anything but under the age of 4. You know, if you do, and you're special. But you know, I remember the first tornado I've ever seen that I could remember was back in 2012, March 2nd, 2012, of the tornado outbreak. It's the same day that the Henryville tornado happened. You know, of course, I live in South Central Kentucky. You know, tornadoes here nowadays are becoming more and more common. But I remember the very first tornado I've ever seen, I've ever been through. You know, I was only 5 years old at the time. Or was it 4? No, I was 4. I didn't turn 5 until later on that year. So I was 4 years old. I remember it was me, a couple of my cousins, my aunt, you know, was up visiting the house. You know, this is before I started school. I remember it was all just messing around, playing outside. Then I remember a tornado. I remember hearing the phones going off. And I remember looking back over the hillside. I remember seeing these lowerings in the cloud. You know, I see clouds just spinning over the horizon, over the hillside. You know, my cousins they were a little older than me at the time. You know, they were like, whatever age they were. You know, they knew what they were looking at due to what they seen on TV and stuff like that. I remember seeing that funnel cloud for the first time when it comes over the hillside. I remember seeing that funnel cloud for the first time. That's when my mom, you know, seeing that and put us all in the closets and stuff like that. You know, luckily it didn't hit the house we were in at the time. It didn't destroy anything. You know, it would hit like a mile and a half north of where we were. But I remember just hearing it in the distance, and you know we're inside the house in the closet, and you know I remember that like it was yesterday. You know, it, and I was mesmerized by what I saw. I mean, see, when I was growing up, you know, tornado was a scary term. You know, I grew up thinking tornadoes were bad. You know, these tornadoes are bad. But when I saw one for the first time, I was so mesmerized. I didn't even know what I was looking at, you know. Every time my family said the word tornado, you know, it was scary. You know, tornadoes are scary, and tornadoes are a force not to be reckoned with. But, you know, I was mesmerized by what I was seeing. And then later on, when they told me it was a tornado, I was like, so that's what they. And from that day on, I mean, it clicked. I was really into the weather. You know, constantly watching the weather. You know, I was into it. They've updated the severe thunderstorm warning again. The tornado possible tag is now gone. Still 70 mile an hour wind gust. This will be going to KO or towards Paducah, Kentucky within the next few minutes. Let's go look at the Advanced Missouri weather cam here. 77 degrees there. Barometer pressure 1,000. Dew point 74 degrees. 75 degrees. Humidity 95%. As you're looking here, let me go ahead and put this on full screen so you can see it better. Full screen. Thank you. So, you know, you got your power lines, and look at that lightning. This is a live view of the thunderstorms that's moving into eastern Missouri right now. Got rain starting to fall. And look at the wind, you guys. You see how the camera is shaking. That's the strong wind gust. And, you know, this is another thing that's dangerous. If there's a tornado that could wrap up in there, it's going to be rain wrapped and it's going to be dark. The wind is blowing so hard that the camera is shaking. They've extended the severe thunderstorm warning. 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts, so the storm is starting to weaken. I wonder if this will give us a view. No, it would. It would be, damn. This is quite a distance away. I don't even think that's even looking towards it. This might. You know, I can't say. It is. North-northwest. Oh, that was pretty. So pretty, but so dangerous. Rain is coming down now. Quite a bit of lightning, a lot of lightning within the storm too. This is in Advance, Missouri. You're under a special weather statement. 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts, half-inch hail. They've updated the severe thunderstorm warning. 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts, 60-mile-an-hour winds are now entering Timmins, Dongolia, Ulen, Mounds, Benton, Missouri. Correction, that's Illinois. I am so stupid. What in the world did that come from? Wait. Well, hello. How you doing? Didn't see this pop up right over where I'm at. No wonder it sounds like it's raining outside. So I'm actually gonna go outside, show TikTok what it's looking like outside. I'll give you guys a view of the storm. I'll put the music stuff back on. Go to my idle screen, and I'll be right back with you guys. Oh yeah, I'm back now, guys. I was messing with some settings with radar as well. Alright, so we'll be keeping an eye on these storms here. I also kind of forgot my YouTube live was going. I was focusing on my TikTok live here. Bow, bow, down. Give y'all a break from the music, and I'll give y'all more on the music. They've updated the severe warning again. Hail just got smaller, 0.5 inch, quarter size hail. Oh no, that's penny sized. 60-mile-an-hour wind guys, so yeah. Lord Almighty, guys. Slow night now, guys. What do you mean stream air?